men and women of the intelligence community, including the NSA, consistently follow protocols designed to protect the privacy of ordinary people. They're not abusing authorities in order to listen to your private phone calls or read your emails.
The National Security Agency remains one of the more covert and shadowy organizations within the American military machine. There are those who will swear by the ability of being able to go after those who are in our midst and would be seeking to do little more than kill Americans. Others find the mere thought of looking into private lives in any form a heinous turncoat of American liberties. Where is that middle ground to remain safe? Let's welcome to MidPoint journalist, author at Foreign Policy magazine, author of the new book, At War, The Rise of the Military Internet Complex, dealing with the impact of cyberspace and the American military. Shane Harris joins us today. Shane, thanks so much for being here. Shane cannot hear us. All right, hang on just a sec. We're going to go ahead and make sure that he can hear us. See, you always have to wonder because there's a couple of seconds delay, so you have to just make sure if anybody can see him before you jump too fast. So we'll go ahead and get Shane on here in just a moment. Want to remind you that Shane writes also on the Daily Beast website as well and talks about things such as the NSA and their chief betting money on AT&T as they spied on you, the American people. But the real focus of what he is talking about right now is the At War book, where he basically discusses how the NSA became a killing machine, how they went into partners with the military in Iraq and changed warfare forever. A lot of this has to do with cyberspace at this point. The biggest thing about the National Security Agency that people always want to know is, what are they looking at? Why are they hanging on to it? And what's it doing to my privacy? Shane Harris is now back with us. We've taken care of the technical difficulties. Shane, once again, thanks for joining us, and let me get right to it. We started this segment with the president basically saying out loud the NSA doesn't hold on to your information. They're constantly being checked, and we're secure in this. You've looked into it. I've read some of your articles as well. You think that that is just probably some of the best balderdash thrown around Washington in a long time, right?
Well, the NSA does hang on to your information, and we know that they've been collecting phone records on Americans for many years and have been holding on to that. And we've had a debate in Washington over how long they should be allowed to hold on to it. And there are regulations and there are checks in place, but it's important to remember that we didn't learn about a lot of this collection until quite recently. So there's sort of a pattern where we find out every now and then through press leaks what the NSA is really up to. It's not fair to say that it's a completely, unchecked organization, but this is, after all, the largest intelligence agency in America. It operates largely in shadow. Lawmakers have expressed a lot of frustration that they haven't felt like they've been fully informed on exactly what the agency was doing. But it is absolutely out there every day collecting information on people around the world and storing it, and including Americans.
There are people who would say, though, Shane, on the other side, look, I'm all right with that. If it stops one person from being killed in a homegrown terrorist attack and you've got to keep a little extra information, I'm fine. Go ahead. Others would say, what have you got to hide? All right, where's the mid-ground?
Well, I think the middle ground probably is recognizing, number one, that it's very difficult to demonstrate that any of this information conclusively has prevented an act of terrorism. I think there's an argument to say that hanging on to it for investigative purposes after the fact, or perhaps in uncovering connections in terrorist networks is important. But the NSA has sort of been pushing this line, this idea that if not for collecting all of this information, we would not be able to stop terrorist attacks. And there's a link there that I think is really hard to make. The important thing, I think, to find the middle ground is to make sure that there are checks and balances in this process, so that when the information that the NSA wants to collect and analyze implicates a U.S. citizen, American person, that there is some measure of that we have that it's only being used for very narrow purposes. If the NSA wants to listen to your phone calls or read your emails, they do have to go through the FBI and the Justice Department to a court to get a warrant to do that. The question that we're dealing with now is, what about your phone records? This thing that we often call metadata. It's not exactly the content of your communication, but it shows who you're calling, how long you spoke, and can actually be quite revealing about you and your personal life and things that you'd like to keep private. that right now they don't need a warrant to access that information. So I think that you're going to see the law and eventually the Supreme Court have to adjust and weigh in on this, and whether there should be more restrictions on how they can use that information that's not specifically content, but that is still very revealing.
Okay, hang on one sec here. We're going to take a break, and after we come back, more with Shane Morris and where he sees the NSA and other American military groups heading with regard to finding those terrorists here. And at 51 minutes after the hour, telling it like it is on those who want to change the meaning of America to suit their own political and religious demands. Time has come to say something, and we'll say it right here on MidPoint.